I want to thank everybody for being here. Today's hearing is focused on the impact that closures of petroleum refineries, serving in the Northeast could have on prices at the pump in the Mid-Atlantic and New England regions. Since September 2011, two refineries in the Philadelphia area, a major Caribbean export refinery supplying the East Coast, have in fact closed. Additionally, a third Philadelphia area refinery is slated to shut down this summer. In addition to the immediate impact on gas prices, we will explore at this hearing the long-run cost to the economy associated with higher gasoline prices, as well as actions that can be taken to encourage the adoption of cleaner, cheaper alternatives to petroleum, such as natural gas. While the situation remains fluid with the potential sale of the three Philadelphia area refineries, I'm concerned that the Northeast is losing needed refining capacity. I'm especially concerned that this loss in refining capacity is happening at a time when consumers are already facing rising gas prices. With limited pipeline capacity to import from the Gulf Coast, this loss of refining activity in the Northeast will increase the region's dependence on European gasoline and diesel and lead to higher prices for consumers. A recent Energy Information Administration report detailed the possible consequences of this reduction in refining capacity, which include greater price volatility and potential shortages in the Northeast. I'm focused, as I know so many people here are, on ensuring that changes in refining capacity in the Northeast have as little impact as possible on energy prices, on jobs in our communities, and on the economic recovery. I've urged the administration to become directly involved in this issue. I met with workers at the three Pennsylvania refineries, Philadelphia, Trainer, and Marcus Hook, to discuss the impact that shuttering the refineries would have on the workforce. Together, these refineries represent half of the refining capacity in the northeastern United States. I'd like to recognize representatives from the United Steelworkers, Local 10-1, Local 10-901, and Local 10-234, who are in the audience this afternoon. Also attending today's hearing are members of the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, Local 13, and Steamfitters, Local 420. Closure of these facilities would likely mean that the Northeast region will experience a decrease in the supply of ultra-low sulfur diesel, so-called ULSD. At the same time, there will be an increase in demand for ULSD as both a transportation fuel and for home heating. With closure of the northeastern refineries, refining activities will be centralized in the Gulf Coast region. This will affect the price of gasoline, diesel, and heating oil and lead to potential shortages of these fuels in the Northeast. An earlier prolonged cold spell next winter could send home heating prices skyrocketing, further hitting consumers. Today, gas prices are pushing $4 at the pump, well ahead of the summer driving season. We're facing higher prices despite the fact that U.S. production of oil is at its highest level since 2003. For the first time in a decade, the U.S. is importing less than half of the oil we use. Yet, with only 2% of the world's proven oil reserves, there's little impact the United States can have on the price of oil, which is set by the supply and demand in the global marketplace. Focusing on U.S. demand for oil offers more promise. The United States consumes more than 20% of the world's oil. Our dependence on oil to meet transportation needs leaves consumers with few choices, making them vulnerable to oil and gasoline price rises. By promoting policies that reduce our dependence on foreign oil, the United States can help to reduce global demand for oil and ultimately prices. If oil accounted for a smaller share of our energy needs, the U.S. economy and American consumers would be less vulnerable to price spikes in the oil market. It's clear that we need to accelerate natural gas development and use. Natural gas is produced right here at home, creating jobs. It's clean. It's a clean source of energy, lower emissions than traditional gasoline. And finally, it's cheap. Converting vehicles, especially commercial vehicles, to run on natural gas could play a role in the move to a cleaner energy alternatives. In the coming weeks, I'll introduce legislation that provides states with both the funding and the flexibility to develop initiatives that, one, encourage use of natural gas as a transportation fuel, and two, encourage public and private investment in natural gas vehicles and transportation infrastructure. These actions will encourage the use of natural gas and while reducing our dependence on petroleum and our vulnerability to oil price spikes.